Clubhouse. Joe Scarice, your co-founder and co-host of the Creative Bird Strategies podcast, bringing you education, networking, and strategy every Sunday morning. Let's get started here in just a few minutes. We got another great subject, the non-QM checklist for real estate investors regarding DSCR and rehab construction. So we'll get started here in just a couple minutes. We'll invite some people in, and we'll get caught up on the news, which I'm pretty excited about here. Really excited about our website. We are completely caught up on our website, thanks to Mr. Yardell Perkins, the co-founder of the podcast and co-host. All the episodes are on there. We're fully loaded. We're really moving toward some really great news of information. We're always live on Facebook and YouTube. Then we load up to Spotify, Audible, and all the other little social media buckets that we extend out there to a lot of people. But what I'm excited about is we're expanding into LinkedIn. We're also going to be expanding into AI video, which is really cool stuff. And we're working on that right now. And we'll have that'll all come together in the month of March, where we'll start seeing some of that in April as well. So just wanted to kind of give everybody a heads up to that, because you'll see some changes on the website. You'll see definitely some involvement coming along with the podcast itself. But I'm really excited. It's not change. It's just good movement toward the actual progression of the podcast. You know, we've celebrated 150 plus episodes, 2 years anniversary. We've celebrated over 10,000 downloads. It's just we want to keep it edgy. You know, I've been doing a lot of revisions on my Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. My newsletter is growing quite well. I just want to make sure that we're staying sharp with the podcast as well. And Yardell and I behind the scenes are working on that. So let's get caught up on the market this week. Obviously, we had a very interesting market. Rates kind of moved up around 6.14 on a base rate and a 30-year fixed. In the commercial sense, it's went up about 50 basis points. So if you were at 6%, you're probably around 6.5. You know, it's something to keep an eye out on as a small landlord investor. For the consumer, nothing much has changed here in this early spring market. Inflation is still hanging in there, but jobs we had a little less, not the greatest of job reports either, but the oil impact, a lot of people are watching what's going on in the Middle East, how that will impact us, Venezuela, soon to be potentially Cuba. I think Cuba is just going to put the flag up and just the surrender flag. I think they're running out of oil, electric, everything. They're having some major issues there. So it'll be interesting. We might have some new resort places to go to over the next 24 to 36 months if everything goes accordingly. So some interesting articles I would like to kind of update you on. But again, like the rates kind of just sitting around there. They got down to about 5.99 base rate a couple of weeks ago, and then boom, with the attack in Iran, kind of pumped it up a little bit. So one article that caught my eye this morning, report that single-family rental yields are tightening. I've been talking about this for the past year, seeing debt service compression and rental numbers coming down, rental days on the market for rent up. You know, many landlords have been able to offset higher acquisition costs with rent growth, but returns are tightening in a majority of areas. Even though rents and wages are rising in many markets, record high home prices are compressing the yields. Investors will need to be more selective, focusing on markets where rent growth and affordability trends continue to support strong returns. Some markets that are showing low rental returns, areas in Illinois near St. Clair County, Mobile County, Alabama, Peoria County, Illinois, St. Louis County, Minnesota, Trumbull County, Ohio. Lowest potential rates right now so far this year, Walton County, Florida, Santa Clara County, California, Williamson County, Tennessee, Loudoun County, Virginia, San Mateo County, California. Let me see the biggest increases. Interesting here. Alameda County, California, Cook County, Illinois, Hillsborough County, Florida, Sacramento, California, and let's see here, Fresno County, California. See if there's anything else that's kind of some really smart growth areas to keep an eye out, which I would agree on these. Suffolk County, New York, Onega County, New York, which is Syracuse, Lucas County, Ohio, Mobile County, Alabama, and Collier County, Florida are areas that are showing significant SFR growth. So this week, my opening remarks to this week in real estate investing, real estate investor, the mortgage market, mortgage rates and lending conditions. Investors are watching the bond market and Federal Reserve signals closely as mortgage pricing remains sensitive to inflation data and treasury yields. So the inflation data and the treasury yields definitely impacted rates this week. Housing supply and inventory, many markets are seeing a gradual increase in listings, but inventory still remains historically constrained in several regions. This dynamic continues to create opportunities for value-add investors, fix and flip operators, and build-to-rent developers. Fix and flip renovation activity, data shows renewed interest from investors acquiring properties below replacement costs, especially in the entry-level housing segment where demand from the first-time buyers remains strong. The multifamily space, higher interest have forced repricing across multifamily and commercial assets. For disciplined investors, the environment is creating a selective acquisition opportunities as over-leveraged owners refinance or reposition assets. A little investor strategy, perhaps most importantly, investors are shifting away from speculative appreciation and back toward fundamentals, cash flow, conservative leverage, and clear exit strategies. For the real estate investors today, the question isn't simply where are the rates, it's how we structure the deal that survive volatility and scale through the cycle. So I just did a presentation at the STR Pocono convention on Verbo and STRs, and you could sense that people are being a little more conservative in their actions on evaluating their cash flow, their DSCR, and leverage. You could see it in their eyes. They're not getting as crazy on leverage. They want some leverage, but they don't want to over leverage themselves and put themselves in trouble. I spoke in front of about 150 people in a workshop setting, and it was some really good questions. But what I provided to them was the guidelines so they know what to go by. They're like, hey, no one's ever provided us guidelines to go by. I'm like, well, why wouldn't they show you what you need to be? Why would you want to hide that? Guidelines are everything. If you're going to be an investor-friendly realtor or or professional, you got to understand the guidelines of the lending landscape to understand what the financial capabilities of that asset is and the client. So in my training class in underwriting, I offer the guidelines to go by to better understand lending. Like, we're not in fantasy land and we're not bringing Mr. Rourke and Tattoo back, okay? You got to have some realistic expectations in the space. And that ties into our discussion, which I actually put an article out on LinkedIn, if you want to take a look at my newsletter, in regards to the financing the products list. What does an investor need for the right loan? Like, what is the ultimate checklist? What is the product checklist? So I keep putting these together and sending them out to many people, hoping to make some impact. But in today's market, one of the biggest challenges real estate investors facing isn't finding deals. It's structuring them to correctly secure financing. Understanding the investor financing products needs to list is crucial for navigating the landscape effectively. Some considerations to include is identifying the right financing options. That's one. Two, understanding the nuances of various loan types. That's two. Mm-hmm. And then structuring deals to meet lender requirements. By focusing on these elements, you can enhance your chances of successfully funding your project. And the article really will dig into the detail. One of the biggest misconceptions of real estate investing is that deals succeed because of great opportunities. In reality, most successful projects come down to something far less exciting: structure and preparation. We're going to be talking about the non-QM checklist for DSCR rehab construction investors. This isn't about chasing approvals or finding the lowest rates. It's about understanding how lenders, credit committees, and capital markets actually evaluate risk. As a direct private lender with Park Place Finance and senior account executive, I see deals every day that look great on the surface but fall apart because the fundamentals weren't structured correctly. The exit wasn't engineered. The numbers weren't stress tested. or the borrower didn't fully understand how these loans are underwritten. Non-QM lending can be an incredibly powerful tool for real estate investors. It allows you to scale portfolios, separate personal income from property performances, and move faster than traditional financing. But flexibility does not mean lack of discipline. The investor who consistently wins in this space approaches every deal with the checklist mindset. They validated the asset, they stress tested the exit, they structured the leverage correctly, and they make sure the financing supports the business plan, not the other way around. Today, we'll walk through a core checklist of every serious investor should run before submitting a DSCR, rehab, or construction loan. So you can move from simply getting deals approved to building deals that survive market cycles and scales portfolios. Because in a real estate finance, structure beats rate every single time. Well, get a brief hello from Mr. Yordell Perkins. I know this is not his direct space, but always like to get a brief introduction by Yordell because he is the co-founder and co-host of this podcast as well. Yordell, good morning. Give a brief overview of who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our podcast and discussions coming ahead in the future. Yordell, going once. There he is.
Good morning, everyone. Yordell Perkins.
So, quick thought. What's your thought with where we're going with the podcast itself, with the AI video piece that we're going to be adding very soon, as well as the LinkedIn piece as well? Any thoughts to that, and what do you think that will do for the podcast? I'm really excited about this. Yeah, the AI video excites me. The LinkedIn piece excites me that we can go live with Facebook as well as YouTube. Just giving more exposure to the moderators and the audience and the podcast itself, the subject matter, the website. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement to this growth pattern because I mean, based on what we've done in a small concept, it's gone a lot of traction. So I appreciate everything you've done. Please put your information in the chat area. So if anybody wants to set up a one-on-one with you in discussions of their social media profile or presence, let them know. Okay. Thank you. So let's get back to our discussion here. Today's market, like I said, is very challenging, and understanding financing structure is going to be very important. Why investors need a financing product framework? Whether you're buying or renting or flipping a property or building from the ground up, lenders evaluate deals based on a few core variables: purchase price, rehab scope, after repair value, exit strategy, the borrower experience, liquidity and reserves. When these variables align properly with the right loan product, the deal becomes financeable and scalable. When they don't, investors often experience delays, restructuring, or outright loan denials. Let's go back to this purchase price. There's obviously a very specific number. The rehab scope, there's a very specific number. Now, do we take into a 10% contingency on all our rehab valuation? Yes. But you got to come up with a number. You can't come to the lender and say, hey, my renovation somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000. That's idiotic. Okay? That's idiotic. Okay? You're going to fail. You got to be a little more specific. What is the after repair value? For the licensed realtors down here, there's an after repair value. There's not a kind of value. There's an after repair value. There's a comp. I need a specific number to go with. I can't cray and throw a couple numbers up in the air and hope it hits a balloon like a dart. Okay. I need an after repair value. And what is the exit strategy? Are you going to flip the property? Are you going to hold the property, refinance the property? What is the market rent? Have you talked to a good property management or good real estate agent that knows the market rent in the area? What are you going to get on the way out on the refinance if you're going to hold this property? And then the biggest, most important question is, what have you done in the last 3 years? How many flips have you completed and sold, not working on currently, flipped and sold in the last 3 years? How many rehabs for rental that you've completed and hold as a rental in the last 3 years? And how many rentals have you acquired in the last 3 years? It should be very easy answers and questions. Okay, I don't understand why it's so complicated for a lot of investors to tell the truth, because eventually our AI background check tells us the truth. So you might as well tell us the truth up front so we know what we're looking at. And what's your liquidity and reserves, retirement, stock, CDs, checking, savings? These are all very important questions to be clear on with whoever you decide to work with. I'm not saying you have to work with me. I'm saying that you need to work with somebody and be transparent and integrous with your answers. For DSCR rental loans, what is the rental income equation? What are your taxes? What are your insurance? How do you not know the taxes of the property that you're buying? Why don't you know the taxes of the property that you're buying? What is the long-term plan? Are you looking at increased cash flow? Are you looking at more of a fixed environment? Right? Like maybe a 10-year interest only with a 30-year amortization makes a lot more sense than a 30-year fixed. I don't know that till we run the numbers. Maybe 70% loan to value of the after repair value or the appraisal value makes a lot more sense than 75%. Streamline the documentation. Get all your LLC documents together. Get your signed lease together. Get the property and tax bill and the insurance bill. Get the closing docs that if you bought the property already and you're looking to refinance, what's the payoff amount? What's the mortgage statement? These are basic things that you need to have. Your ID, a valid ID for that matter. For the buy and hold investors, DSCR loans have become the most powerful financing tools in the market, especially leading into the BRRRR strategy, buying at the right basis and managing rehab budgets carefully and stabilizing rents quickly, planning to refinance before the purchase. In 26, BRRRR isn't dead, sloppy BRRRR is. Fix and flip financing has designed investors focus on short-term renovations and resale strategies. I am more of a fan of not heavy rehab. Light to medium rehab to get the property back on the market, I think is smart because time kills deals. High leverage on purchase, rehab funding through construction draws. Have you done a construction draw before? Short-term rent loans are between 12 and 18 months. You got to get that project done between 4 and 7 months to make some money on that property. Leave some meat on the bone for the flip. Successful flippers focus heavily on conservative ARV assumptions, controlled rehab timelines, and clear resale strategies. The key is understanding that speed matters, but structure matters more. And then there's ground-up construction loans. For experienced builders and developers, construction financing allows investors to create value from the ground up. These projects are evaluated on builder experience, not just the investor experience. We'll take builder experience into account as well. Construction budget accuracy, market demand for the finished product, exit strategy, sale, or refinance. The ground up construction carries higher risk but can produce significant value creation when executed correctly. The discipline that separates investors across all four strategies, the most successful investors share one common habit. They structure the financing before the structure of the deal. They ask questions like what loan product fits the strategy? What loan to value or loan to cost limits apply? Does the exit strategy match the loan term? Will the refinance qualify when stabilization occurs? These questions prevent surprises later in the process. Structure beats rate. In real estate investing, many people focus on interest rates. Professional investors focus on structure. The right structure protects downside risk, improves lender confidence, and creates opportunities to scale. Deals are not won with optimism, they are won with discipline, underwriting, and planning. Bob, good morning. Thank you for your patience. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to from deal idea to funded deal, the investor financing products need list, non-QM checklist.
So,
can't be part of legal advice? What's the problem there, Bob? So Bob, we've known each other a long time, 16 years now. Why is there such a disconnect more than ever in the last 8 years or 10 years since non-QM lending has come on board? We're not collecting tax returns, we're not collecting pay stubs, W-2s, and 1099s. Why does the investor think you're able to just draw a stick figure on a piece of paper and can close a loan in a non-QM lending space? What's your thoughts of the disconnect of how the investor doesn't define risk and responsibility and structure anymore with the opportunity mindset? Like, where's the misunderstanding for the investor that you're seeing structuring the LLC for them today?
I'm seeing it coming from two sources. Of one,
I find that qualitative is way better than quantitative. I pride myself that we're not a very big, like we don't have hundreds of people in this room, and there's a reason. We're not selling any bullshit. We're not providing any insight to the land of make believe. Okay, we're trying to be very integrous in what we're providing. I'm not here to lay any bullshit out. I'm not selling any products. I'm providing a service for my clients. So it's different. I am not charging anybody for my expertise. So if I was going to do that, then I go into a non-integrous environment as a licensed professional. I could tell you on Clubhouse alone, I'll be surprised if most of the people that are teaching things have their driver's license, might as well any other licenses. But either way, we're going to stay always, as long as we're allowed to be here on Clubhouse to provide insight, and on the podcast itself, we will provide integrous information for the righteous individuals, the qualitative people, because I feel that's more important in what we do and what we extend. And we've always done that. and that's fine. I like upsetting the narrative, but I do find it very. I am finding a more strategic investor now in my space at these local investor group meetings, like that STR event I was just at up in Kalahari. Very engaged individuals, people that really wanted to understand the guidelines of a loan. Like, what investor do you know that wants to read the guidelines? That to me separates the chump from the champ. Okay. Investors that focus on the deal, lenders focus on the downside, right? Most investors underwrite based on ARV, rent potential, and upside, right? Lenders underwrite based on what happens if everything goes wrong. Investors ask, how much can I make? Lenders ask, how much could we lose? So you got to start looking from a lender's scope. They're the ones providing you the money. The difference in perspective creates friction when an investor believes the deal potential should override the structural risk. The hard money legacy problem. Years ago, many hard money lenders operated with minimal documentation and very relationship-based approvals. Today, non-QM private credit lenders are different. Most loans are sold into the secondary market. They're securitized. They're reviewed by institutional capital partner. That means guidelines exist because bond buyers and warehouse lenders demand them. Investors sometimes think they are dealing with a local lender when in reality, they're dealing with a capital markets infrastructure. And then the social media deal culture. A lot of investors are learning from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube deal gurus. These platforms highlight wins, not failed underwriting capital or capital calls. It's amazing on all of the groups on here. Nobody talks about their failures. Everybody talks about everything's just roses, peaches, and dolphins. So many investors believe leverage is easy. Lenders will figure it out. Documentation is flexible. But lending isn't built on storytelling. It's built on risk models. Confusion between asset-based and no rules. Many investors hear asset-based lending and assume that means only the property matters. In reality, lenders still evaluate experience, liquidity, reserves, credit behavior, exit viability. Asset-based lending simply means the property drives the approval, not personal income documentation. It does not mean underwriting disappears. Exit strategy is often an afterthought. Many investors approach lenders with the purchase contract, a rehab estimate, and optimistic rent or resale assumptions, but lenders want to see the exit engineered before the acquisitions. A little common sense thought. If you're going to pull permits on a house to do renovations, do you think that's going to notify the tax assessor's office? Yes. Do you think your taxes are going to go up? Yes. Do you even know what the taxes are today and what potentially could look like a year from now after you stabilize the property? You probably don't. You probably took nothing into account. Questions lenders care about. Can the DSCR refinance actually qualify later? Will seasoning rules affect the refinance? Is the ARV realistic in the current rate environment? What happens if the hold extends past 6 to 12 months? If those answers aren't clear, lenders tighten up. Investors think rate is the negotiation. Many borrowers believe the key variable is interest rate. But in private lending, the real variables are leverage, liquidity requirements, reserves, experience tier, and exit timeline. The best investors negotiate structure, not just rate. The real solution, the most successful investors eventually learn to think like a credit committee. They structure deals by asking, what does a lender need to feel protected? How does this loan perform if the market softens? Is the exit durable under stress? When investors start underwriting deals the way lenders do, approvals become predictable instead of frustrating. Non-QM lending isn't loose lending. It's structured lending without traditional income documentation. Once investors understand the difference, the disconnect disappears. Good morning, Felix. Welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to the non-QM checklist for DSCR and rehab construction investors.
Grand Rising Joe, Felix Buchanan Senior, Buchanan Biz Enterprises, the Jacobs Group. You pretty much
How has the events been down in the DMV Baltimore quarter? Have you been attending any?
It's been awesome.
So are you're still having the Baltimore event the third Thursday in Laurel, right? And then
Only one night is the third Tuesday. I think Korea is the second Tuesday.
second Tuesday, is that the one at Timbuktu?
That's the one that's in Timbuktu.
Yeah. All right. So that's second Tuesday, third Thursday. That's not those are just solid dates. And I mean, listen, the attendance was great, but for me, I felt like the attendee was weak. They weren't really
Right.
doing anything. Like they were there just kind of going through the motions. And I have to identify and always be around as much active people as possible because I'm in the service industry. You know what I mean? I need people that are gonna do something in the next 90 days, not the next 12 months. You know what I mean? That's what I felt there.
Sorry, the good thing was actually
Mhm. On my radar for the upcoming months to come down to the Laurel event again. But thanks a lot, Felix. You know, Felix touched on something really important that ties into the non-QM checklist for DSCR and rehab construction investors is your team of experts is one of the most important assets a real estate investor can build. Deals can create opportunity, but the team determines whether the opportunity becomes profit or a problem. Successful investors rarely win because of one great property. They win because they have a reliable ecosystem around every transaction. Your team protects your downside. Real estate investing is not just about finding deals, it's about managing risk at every stage. The right professionals help you avoid expensive mistakes. Lenders structure capital properly. Contractors keep renovation timelines realistic. Property managers protect cash flow. Attorneys and title companies insurance ensure clean and ownership and compliance. Insurance professionals mitigate liability exposure. One weak link can destroy margins on the otherwise great deal. Speed comes with relationships. In competitive markets, speed wins deals. When you have a trusted team, your lender always already knows your track record. Your contractor can estimate it quickly. Your agent understands investor numbers. Your title company clears issues fast. This reduces friction and allows investors to move with confidence with others are still gathering information. Expertise replaces guesswork. New investors often rely on optimism. Experienced teams rely on data, experience, and pattern recognition. For example, a contractor may recognize a structural issue before closing. A property manager may warn you about a weak rental submarket. A lender might identify an exit problem before funding. These insights can save tens or thousands of dollars. Scaling requires infrastructure. Investors who want to scale from 1 to 2 deals to 10 to 20 deals per year quickly realize they cannot do everything themselves. Scaling requires consistent deal analysis, reliable financing, repeatable renovation processes, strong tenant management that only happens with structured team operating like a business, not a side project. The best investors think like CEOs. Top investors treat themselves as a CEO of a real estate operating company. That means surrounding themselves with experts in capital, construction, legal, property management, tax strategy, and asset protection. Your job as an investor becomes strategic decision making, not solving every operational problem yourself. A simple rule many experienced investors follow: your first investment isn't the property, it's the team that helps you buy it. Because in real estate, the right team compounds returns just like the right property does. Some back follow-up with Bob Cheswick. A brief follow-up on our discussion today on the non-QM checklist for DSCR and rehab investors.
Well, I think everybody's basically said it. You've got to
You should do a follow-up, or maybe, well, in April we're not going to be every Sunday anymore, so you might have some open slots for yourself there, Mr. Cheswick. So I'm giving you a brief heads up of where we're going with the podcast. So because we're doing a lot more one-on-ones, this is deserving of a one-on-one interview down at our rooftop deck down in Second and Chestnut in Philly. I think, Bob. Maybe have it. Yeah, I think we should. We should try to plan it out. Probably the second Saturday in April. We should see if you're available to come down into the hood.
check my calendar and see where we're.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, well, just keep it in mind. Second Saturday in April might be a good time.
That's correct.
Excellent. So, touching on what Felix and Bob have discussed here, being a detailed real estate investor means operating with the mindset of an underwriter, asset manager, and risk manager, not just a buyer of the property. The difference between average investors and consistent operators is almost always attention to detail before the deal closes. Some key areas I want you to keep in mind. Acquisition and deal underwriting. A detailed investor never buys based on optimism. They base it on buying on validated numbers. Accurate after repair value numbers, ARV. Conservative rental projections based on verified market data. Full renovation scope and contractor estimates. The purchase price relative to loan to value, loan to cost, and exit strategy. Margin for market volatilities and timeline delays. The goal is simple. Engineer the profit before you buy the property. Financing structure. Sophisticated investors understand that structure beats rate. Important details include loan to value, loan to cost limits, DSCR requirements for rental exits, interest only versus amortized payments. I'm seeing more investors looking at 10-year interest only, 30-year amortized loans than ever before because they're looking at cash flow. They're not looking at appreciation right now. They don't think they're going to appreciate that much more over the next 5 to 10 years. So take a 10-year interest only and play the market out. Is there origination points or lender fees? What are they? I mean, with us at Park Place, there is no origination on DSCR. There's none. You're par pricing. If there is origination, you're buying the rate down. Is that cost benefit? The only lender fees we have is $19.95 for underwriting processing credit report, which is taken out at closing, and a legal fee of $6.25. These are standard charges across the entire industry. It's not like anybody's charging any less or any more. And then what's the prepayment look like or step down? The best pricing is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but maybe you want to only have a prepayment for 3 years. The workaround with the prepayment is you're allowed to pay down balance, just not more than 20% a year of the loan amount, or it kicks in the prepayment. What's your liquidity and your reserve requirement looks like? I would always say have at least 6 months of reserves per property sitting in an account just for that designated property. Understanding these details determines where the deal 6 months from now, not just today. Renovation planning. Many investors underestimate renovation complexity. The full scope of work with line items and budgets, the contingency reserves, which is like 10 to 15%. If you're not using that, you're not thinking correctly. Permit requirements and inspection timelines, contractor payments, schedules, and draw structures. Timeline management to control holding costs. Construction discipline directly protects profit margins. The exit strategy engineering. Professional investors determine the exit before acquisition. Refinance into a DSCR loan. Sale after renovation or fix to flip. Long-term rental hold. Short-term rental or midterm or housing. Key details to include are appraisal assumptions, refinance seasoning requirements, market demand for resale, rent stability, and vacancy rates. A detailed investor always asks, if the market softens, does this exit still work? And then there's risk management. Real estate is about managing risk as much as generating returns. Critical details include proper insurance coverage, entity structuring, LLC, asset protection, title review and lien searches, tax planning, depreciation strategy, liquidity reserves for unexpected issues. Disciplined investors plan for what is going to go wrong, not just what's going to go right. Your team and operational infrastructure, which we discussed, lenders, contractors, real estate agents, property managers, attorneys and title companies, insurance advisors, CPAs, bookkeepers. The key principle is the most successful investors understand one fundamental rule. The real estate rewards discipline, not excitement. The details that seem small, repair estimates, financing terms, DSCR projections, timeline assumptions, are usually the factors that determine whether a deal becomes a profitable investment or a costly lesson. Optimism finds deals, discipline protects profits. And my finishing remarks to this discussion today, the non-QM checklist for DSCR and rehab construction investors, as we wrap it up, approval is not the goal, survivability is. Non-QM financing, whether it's DSCR, fixed to rent, fixed to flip, or ground-up construction, can be incredibly powerful tools for the real estate investor, but tools only create wealth when they're used with discipline, structure, and clear exit strategies. Before every deal, ask yourself, does the deal work under conservative assumptions? Is the leverage aligned with the risk of the project? Do I have sufficient liquidity and timeline flexibility? And most importantly, have I engineered the exit before the entry? In today's capital markets, the lenders are not underwriting just the property, they're underwriting volatility, execution risk, and borrower discipline. The investors who scale in this environment are not the ones that are chasing higher leverage or lowest rate. They are the ones who are building reputable systems, underwrite conservatively, protect their downside, and treat financing as a strategic partner to the deal, not a shortcut to the deal. Because in real estate investing, the truth is simple. The truth is simple. Structure beats rate, discipline beats optimism, and the investors who think like lenders are the ones who build lasting portfolios. So we gave a lot of content here, a lot to think about. And this helps you think about that next deal. Does it make sense? Look at it differently. Look at it through a lender's eyes. Why will this work with a lender? Do I need to go 75% loan to value on the refinance? Maybe I should go 70% or 65%. And Yordell, do you have some additional insight? We appreciate your insight. Yeah, and some things that just finish off the discussion. Remember, in real estate investing, the deal doesn't fail because of the market. It fails because of structure. Underwrite the downside, engineer the exit, and let discipline scale the portfolio. I want to thank Felix Cannon, Mr. Bob Cheswick, Mr. Uriel Perkins. Excellent moderators today. Excellent discussion today. We're providing education, networking, and strategy here on the podcast, here on the house, in Clubhouse. We have some great things coming ahead in the second quarter with AI video and some additional add-ons for the podcast. We're always live in over 250 plus groups on Facebook while we're doing this discussion, as well as YouTube Live. We're now going to be going hopefully LinkedIn Live by the end of sometime this month. And then we're tying in AI video. We're actually also potentially moving to a studio, a more advanced studio for our discussions. We're going to always have the podcast every second Saturday of the month with one-on-one interviews, whether via Zoom or in person at my offices in Philadelphia with Yordell Perkins and myself. And then we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do on Sundays in the second quarter. We're always gonna provide very strong discussions, of course, but we're just gonna figure it all out because they have me on the road a little more often. I'm speaking actually in 5 different real estate investor group meetings this month alone. I was just at the STR conference. I'll be in Lehigh Valley this week. I'll be also at the Connecticut RIA. I'm speaking also for the ARIA, Asian American Real Estate Association in Central New Jersey, and then I'm also speaking in South Jersey. So, and then I'm also doing 3 podcasts this Saturday coming up in regards to interviews, one-on-ones. So it's a lot of work. So I got to keep my brain on tight. But again, I want to thank the moderators. I want to thank the audience. And again, if there's a subject we're not touching on, please feel free to reach out to me directly or Yordell and Bob. You can reach out to Bob or Felix as well. These are guys that I've known a long time. Like average person that are moderator here today, I've known an average of 15 years. So that just tells you the longevity of professional friendship in this space, giving back on a weekly basis of insight. And my quote this morning: invest in who invests in you, save the heartbreak. The right people multiply your energy, vision, and opportunities. The wrong ones will drain them. Have a beautiful Sunday morning. Have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for education, networking, and strategy here on the Creative Birth Strategies podcast and house on Clubhouse. I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds. Thank you.
Everybody have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Some week.